Thank you for joining us now. The Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning is expected to spend about $53 million on hiring staffers, office administration committee, overheads and other logistics such as training and workshops out of the $800 million the federal government has secured from the World Bank to mitigate the effects of petrol subsidy removal on vulnerable Nigerians. The agreement between the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning and the International Development Association, the concessional lending arm of the World Bank Group, seen by the reporters yesterday, says that the money will be expended to execute activities that will make the project implementation seamless. Nigeria's special drawing rights with the International Monetary Fund total about $565.3 million. An amount deposited as collateral at the IDA to access the concessional facility of $800 million to fund the subsidy removal palliatives as well. This implies that for every unit of SDR entitled to, the country gets approximately $1.41 million in loan. In line with the executed document, $747 million, or about 93.4% of the total sum, will be disbursed to beneficiaries, while the balance will go into federal and state bureaucracies and logistics to be set up to the satisfaction of the IDA. The agreement says the federal government will establish a national social safety net coordinating office, which means doing away with officials of the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs already trained to carry out such tasks. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs preside over NASCO National Management Team. And away from there now, the Debt Management Office yesterday said it will auction about 360 billion naira worth of federal government of Nigeria bonds to domestic investors this month, in continuation of the federal government's effort to borrow 11 trillion naira to fund the 2023 budget. Under the 2023 budget, the federal government plans to raise new borrowings of 9.32 billion naira, comprising 7.4 trillion naira from domestic sources and 1.8 trillion naira from foreign sources. Announcing the plans to an offer circular release yesterday, the DMO said it will auction about 360 billion naira worth of FGN bonds, adding that the auction will open on April 17 and settlement will hold April 19. The bonds to be auctioned are 13.98% federal government saving bonds, federal government of 2020, and 90 billion of 12.50% of FGN April 2032, and 90 billion of 13% of FGN January 2042, 90 billion and 12.89% federal government March 2050, and 90, which is of course 90 billion naira. Last month, the DMO sold about 563.4 billion naira worth of bonds, following 125% oversubscription to the 360 billion naira worth of FGN bonds offered by the agency. Investors' demand came in strong with total subscriptions of 808.6 billion naira. Analysts project that the oversubscription of FGN bonds auction in April, citing strong demand for government securities and other fixed income investments occasioned by the high interest rate regime triggered by the inflation fighting measures of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Reflecting this trend, pension fund administrators PFAs increased pension fund investment in federal government debt instrument by 16.5% year-on-year to 9.9 trillion naira in February from 8.5 trillion naira in 2022. In the meantime, Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise (CPPE) has called on the federal government of Nigeria to increase budgetary allocations to insurance and pension to enhance growth in the two sectors. Chief Executive Officer, Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise, Dr. Moda Yusuf, made the call at Business Today annual conference in Lagos. According to Yusuf, governments at all levels and their agencies should always comply with relevant laws and policies for the growth of the nation's economy. Speaking on their theme, consumer satisfaction in deepening penetration in insurance and pension sectors, Yusuf said government at all levels and their agencies must comply with employers' liability insurance in line with the Workmen's Compensation Act of 1987, Buildings Under Construction Insurance Section 64 of the Insurance Act of 2003. And similarly, the Commissioner for Insurance, Sunday Thomas, said that customer satisfaction remains key to the insurance business. Away from there now, the Intergovernmental Group of 24, G24 as it were, on international monetary affairs and development has expressed their concerns over some of the measures undertaken by the World Bank Group in addressing the post-COVID-19 economic, financial and developmental challenges of the low and middle income countries. The G24 organized under the World Bank Group system, however, commented some of the outcomes of the measures which had lessened the hardships and human sufferings experienced from various crises globally. At the 109th meeting held during the ongoing 2023 spring meetings of the WBG in Washington, D.C., the ministers of the G24 nations, with Nigeria's Minister of Finance Zainab Ahmed in attendance, noted that the COVID-19 induced economic crisis and the most recent global financial stability or instabilities rather are stretching the capability of their governments as well as humanitarian agencies to cope with these challenges and strongly support international efforts to restore peace, stability and livelihoods. Many emerging markets and developing economies are projected to grow below their potential in 2023. The G24 ministers' communique issued after the meeting also stated, while the oil market remains well supplied as maintained by the OPEC countries in the Declaration of Cooperation, recent financial market turmoil is creating volatility in the futures market for fuel, with the top or the possibility for near-term inflation. You're watching Business Now, coming to you live from our studios here. Still ahead, IMF explains crisis in Nigeria. Other low-income countries makes recommendations. We'll bring you this and more other stories after this commercial break.